ones of the victims are still struggling to understand how something like this could have happened. They say the couple was married for over 20 years, and there was never any signs of domestic abuse. They even told me they didn't know a gun was in the home.
Total surprise.
Unexpected, like.
He adored her. Whatever Renee wanted, Chris would give it to her.
Marion Shaw is still coming to grips with the fact that she'll never see her oldest daughter, Teresa Adams-Pugh, again. The family called her Ree.
Fun-loving, the life of our family party.
Marion says her daughter had 4 children and 15 grandchildren. They say Teresa was proud that her granddaughter, Denia, was heading to North Carolina A&T this fall.
She just wanted us to be the best we could be, like you could tell. Like.
The Johnson County Sheriff's Office says around 6:45 Saturday afternoon, their dispatch center received a call from 10 Cheney Drive in Garner. Investigators say the caller said nothing before hanging up, which prompted 911 communications to call the number back. That's when the sheriff's office says a man answered the phone saying he did not call 911. The dispatch overheard a woman in the background saying, "Why do you want to kill me? I need help." When deputies arrived, they heard a gunshot inside the home. 911 communications called the number back, and the man told them he would come outside to speak with officers. But when he didn't, negotiators tried to convince him to come outside. They ultimately had to obtain a search warrant to enter the home. And that's when they found 53-year-old Chris Pugh and his wife, 54-year-old Teresa Adams-Pugh, a couple who loved ones say had been married for more than 20 years.
It was Saturday evening, March 22, 2025, at 6:45 p.m. in Garner, North Carolina, a suburban street bathed in spring light. Then, a sudden 911 call from 10 Cheney Drive, a frantic female voice demanding help, echoes of fear. Seconds later, silence. No forced entry. A locked door. 2 bodies. 1 gun, a stunning shock to everyone who believed in a love built across 2 decades. Who silenced Teresa Adams-Pugh, a 54-year-old fashion vlogger adored by family and fans? What tore apart the marriage she shared with her husband, Christopher Pugh? Tonight we uncover the unseen moments leading to that fateful evening and the questions still begging for answers. Let us hold a moment of silence for Teresa. Thank you. Let's share her story. Type RIP Teresa in the comments. Share this video. Help her story reach the world. Subscribe and hit that bell so her memory and others like hers are never forgotten. Teresa Renee Adams-Pugh was born on June 29, 1970 in Moore County, North Carolina. Raised in the pews of St. Anna Free Will Baptist, she greeted every Sunday with a joyful spirit. By her teens, she was serving as church secretary, organizing bulletins, and tending the calls of a growing congregation. Faith was the foundation of her life. In her 20s, Teresa graduated from Fuquay-Varina High and later earned credentials at Wake Technical Community College. She built a steady career managing operations at ARS, then briefly retired before returning to the workforce at UPS in early 2025. But in everything she did, her heart remained with fashion and family. As Renee P. on YouTube and Facebook, she shared her love of style, outfit pairings, makeup tips, and the art of aging with elegance. She decorated her home for Christmas with flair and joy. She hosted family Thanksgiving dinners, her kitchen table alive with laughter, her smile lighting every corner. That warmth extended far beyond her immediate family. Teresa married Christopher Pugh more than 2 decades ago. Chris, a quiet and steady man, worked for the Postal Service and served as a deacon in their church. Together, they raised 4 children and had 14 grandchildren ranging from infants to young adults. Family gatherings under their roof filled the street with music, chatter, and the smell of cooking that lingered long into the night. Neighbors on Cheney Drive remember their home as one of generosity. Melissa Matz, who lived next door, recalled how holiday gatherings booked up the block, cars lining both sides of the street, cousins and uncles traveling in from every corner. Cousin Josette Battlegoing, scrolling through social media posts the night news broke, said it was always one photo after another. Teresa in Chris's arms, their smiles shining bright. Anytime she posted, it was nothing but good things, she said. We never expected this. Teresa's obituary, published by Trice Funeral Home on March 22, 2025, painted a portrait of perseverance and passion. After losing a son, Adrian, she channeled her pain into living fully, hosting holidays, decorating, dancing. She was the heart of every party. Her parents, Joyce Shaw and William Thomas, remember her as a daughter whose laugh was the life of our family party. Her resume lists church secretary and manager at ARS, but social media reveals a creator who uplifted others with style and confidence, especially mature Black women who saw themselves in her videos. In public, she was the essence of grace. At home, she was a mother, grandmother, and the glue that held generations together. That perfect veneer, however, left no room for silent cracks. Everything Teresa built, the faith, the family, the shows, the status, came to a halt on a quiet Saturday evening in Garner. And now we begin to ask what broke and why love couldn't save her. In the final quarter of 2024, a quiet shift began to ripple through Teresa's online presence. Her vibrant personality dimmed. The once bubbly tutorials became softer, more cautious. Comments still poured in. Love this outfit. But replies took longer, came with a subdued tone. In a video shared in early December, she confessed she was going through some things, her smile faltering under the weight of words. The camera hovered on her hands for a moment too long, twisting a ring as if affirming her resolve. Teresa's husband, Chris, who had once quietly stood behind her in vlogs, framing her with support, now stayed off-screen. In one final joint video, a December poolside vlog, Chris sat next to her in companionable silence. He offered no insights, no commentary, just a soft, wordless presence. Viewers noticed. A friend commented, "He seems different." Teresa replied later, "Just enjoying peace." An attempt to brush off concern, but the undercurrent lingered. Behind that routine, emotional turbulence surged. In January 2025, she delivered a makeup tutorial before gently sharing she'd been feeling anxious for a couple months. Her tone flickered. "I've thought, would it be better if I wasn't here? Not planning anything, but in my mind it crosses." Viewers typed heart emojis, a few quietly reached out, but the public reply stayed. "Thanks, girls, I'm figuring things out." That phrase, so ordinary, it protected her from probing but hinted at battles fought in silence. Cousin Josette, watching from afar, sensed the shift. The constant brightness disappeared. "This came out of nowhere," she recalled on March 25, 2025. She was so full of life. But as she scrolled earlier that month, she realized something changed in Teresa's tone. No pause between camera click and the tone of her voice, as if the script was being read by someone watching her from the next room. There were no demands, no shouts, just the soft echoes of control. Chris's influence grew more subtle as the weeks passed. He began directing comments. "Put out the video at 2, she nodded. "Change that intro line," she agreed. In a couple clips, he appeared behind her, watching, not speaking, but there, in the swivel of a shoulder or the flicker of his gaze. Family noticed Teresa stepping back from church gatherings, heading in early, saying she felt like she was always being watched. Her daughter, Amira, would later say, "Mom stopped dancing at the family table, that was our red flag." Then in mid-March, Teresa filmed a casual closet clean-out. It was 8 days before her death. She asked fans what to keep, what to pass on. She slipped into a freshly pressed floral dress and smiled. But at the end of the segment, she reached for a box, sealing it with care. She never explained why. She never returned to it. It remained taped shut on her bedroom floor. That box is our momentary cliffhanger, an emblem of something being put in motion, perhaps a plan, a pause, a departure. But from that video, fresh with hope and polish, no one could have predicted the storm gathering beyond the frame. Now the camera cuts from a woman packing a box to the locked door of 10 Cheney Drive 2 weeks later. That door becomes our doorway into what no one saw coming. First light on March 22, 2025 painted a soft glow through the bedroom curtains. At 7:15 a.m., Teresa filmed her final vlog. She smiled gently, choosing a spring blouse and cheerful lipstick, her voice warm as she spoke about flowers and family. No hint of what the day held. Chris didn't appear. She closed the video softly, saying she had errands to run. By 8:30 a.m., she dropped a package at UPS and did grocery shopping, later posting a streamed photo of her cart full of fresh produce, the kind of mundane moment that felt full of promise. Meanwhile, Chris stayed home, his day quiet. No messages, no calls. Silence where companionship once filled spaces. By noon, they shared a quick lunch. She sat at the kitchen island, sipping tea. He stood across, scrolling his phone. No smiles, no conversation. Around 4 p.m., neighbors heard soft music drifting from inside, a favorite gospel hymn. A woman humming along. By 6:40 p.m., Chris prepared dinner, wine poured for two, but only one glass was ever touched. At 6:45 p.m., a frantic female voice pierced 911 dispatchers. "Why do you want to kill me? I need some help." The voice, desperate. Then a click. Silence. Deputies arrived at 10 Cheney Drive at 6:52 p.m. They knocked, but no answer. At 6:55 p.m., a single gunshot echoed inside. Ring doorbell cameras captured flashing police lights through curtains as neighbors waited at a distance. At 7:05 p.m., detectives arrived. A deputy radioed, stating they heard 2 shots. They called for a tactical unit. Protocol required a search warrant. North Carolina law protects privacy until evidence supports forced entry. By 8 p.m., they were still outside. Families in nearby homes watched through windows, hearts pounding. At 9 p.m., they applied for a warrant. Meanwhile, the scent of dinner long gone cold hovered in the kitchen. At 10:45 p.m., a judge signed the warrant. By 10:50 p.m., the team entered. Inside, they found Teresa on the floor of the hallway, a single wound to her chest. Chris was slumped in an armchair with the gun in his lap. No note. No signs of struggle. The room smelled of cold wine and regret. Crime scene technicians took over, photographing every item in place, a record of lives paused. They moved slowly, gloves tight, voices hushed. They found no note, no written goodbye, no hint of what drove the final act. Only Teresa's last posted on the fridge, a doctor's appointment reminder for next week, out of date. An echo of lost plans. Outside the scene, investigators replayed the recordings of gunfire. The crack of a single shot, followed by another. Each strike a punctuation mark in the silence of the house. They cataloged shell casings, tested for residue, traced trajectories, reconstructed angles. Everything followed a single path. He raised a weapon and ended everything he loved most. In the driveway, family members arrived. They moved toward officers with trembling steps. Joyce Shaw, Teresa's sister, found herself unable to speak until grief welled in her chest and the words burst forth. He adored her, but did this. Each syllable carried disbelief and heartbreak. Tears fell freely as she collapsed into the arms of friends and neighbors alike. The camera lifts from the sorrow beneath the yellow tape to a shared truth in their eyes, a marriage that seemed unbreakable, shattered in locked rooms. On a warm April morning, the sanctuary at Carolina Biblical Gardens filled slowly. Shoulders leaned against shoulders, heads bowed, tears silently tracing cheeks. They came with heavy hearts and shaking hands, dressed in hues Teresa once wore so boldly, royal purples, soft yellows, deep blues. She would have smiled at that. She believed in color even on cloudy days. A white casket sat at the front beneath a cascade of sunflowers and magnolias, her favorites. Inside it lay not just a woman but a history, a mother, a matriarch. A black woman who survived so much only to be taken by the person who promised to protect her. The choir hummed her favorite hymn, "Great is Thy Faithfulness," but this time her voice wasn't leading them. She used to sit right near the alto section at St. Anna Free Will Baptist, always humming even when she wasn't supposed to. Pastor Jenkins, who'd known her since she was just Reese from Moore County, paused halfway through his eulogy, his voice caught. Sister Teresa walked in love, but sometimes the people closest to love suffer in silence. Her daughter Amira stood at the podium, her fingers trembled as she read from a folded sheet of paper. She told me I could be anything, that I was born with a gift. Now I'd give anything just to hear her laugh one more time. My mom wasn't just my heart. She was my anchor. And now I'm lost at sea. In the second row, her grandson Tylen sat silently with his hoodie pulled tight, shoulders shaking. Grandma made me feel like I mattered even when I messed up, he later told reporters. I used to tell her I was going to be famous one day, but she was already famous to me. Her niece Kaylani, barely 23, clutched a picture of Teresa in a denim jacket with a flower pinned to the collar, laughing, radiant, alive. Auntie Reese always danced like the world was hers. I just wish she'd told us she needed help. I would have dropped everything. I would have come. On TikTok, one woman stitched her last fashion haul with the caption, "I never met her, but I cried like I lost my auntie too." On Facebook, a tribute post from an old coworker read, "She made Mondays feel like Fridays. Her joy was that contagious." Her YouTube subscribers flooded the comments. "She inspired me to embrace color after my divorce. She showed me that style doesn't end after 40, it starts. I came here for fashion, stayed for her wisdom. Rest easy, queen." But behind every tear was a cruel truth. Teresa wasn't the only one. Statistics from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence show that in the United States, 12 women die each week in murder-suicides. Let that sink in. Every 7 days, 12 families are broken, 12 dinner tables have empty seats. And when a gun is present in a domestic situation, the likelihood of a woman being killed increases by 500%. That's not fear-mongering. That's federal data. That's reality. In North Carolina alone, more than a dozen women lost their lives in domestic violence-related murder-suicides just this year. Many of them were like Teresa, women who loved deeply, who poured into their families, who kept smiling even when things got hard. Women whose final moments were robbed by someone they trusted. The community in Garner is still trying to make sense of it. Candlelight vigils have been held outside her home on Cheney Drive. Local leaders have called for reform and resources. But the question still echoes through the streets, whispered on church steps, posted beneath her videos. How did this happen to someone like her? The answer is hard. Because sometimes it's not about chaos. It's not about loud arguments or visible bruises. Sometimes it's about silence. About a quiet tightening over the years. About a woman feeling more alone each day in a house full of history. About secrets too shameful to say out loud. And so, Teresa's story has become something larger. It's not just a tragedy. It's a testimony. A call to pay attention. To check on the people who always say they're fine. To ask harder questions. To believe women. To act before the silence becomes a headline. For the family, every day without her feels colder, every sunrise a little dimmer. But they've turned their grief into movement. Teresa's legacy isn't just in the outfits she wore or the tutorials she gave, it's in the love she left behind. Beth, you can help carry that legacy, share her story, say her name, and let it be a light for the women still here, still hiding, still hoping someone will notice. Because sometimes, noticing is everything. Teresa's story is a reminder. The strongest faces sometimes hide the deepest wounds, and until we learn to say "I see you" even when nothing's broken, the risk remains. Teresa lived to inspire. Through color, fabric, laughter, and love, she gave voice to joy in a world that too often tried to quiet her. She danced through decades of life as a mother, a grandmother, a woman rooted in faith. Her camera lens captured more than outfits. It captured resilience. But in the final hour, her voice was overpowered by the one person she should have been able to trust. Her death leaves a silence loud enough to rattle us all. But silence doesn't mean forgotten. Teresa's story isn't just about what happened in that house in Garner, North Carolina on March 22, 2025. It's about what happens every time we ignore the whispers of pain hiding in plain sight, every time we label a woman strong instead of safe. So now we ask you, who will you speak for? Whose silence will you break? Will you carry Teresa's name forward so the world remembers her as more than a headline? If you feel her story in your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Comment "Justice for Teresa" like this video. Share it with your sisters, your aunties, your friends, because her voice deserves to echo. And subscribe to this channel, not for the clicks, but for the lives behind these stories. Teresa Adams-Pugh was light until she was taken. Let's make sure that light never dims. Let's make sure she is never forgotten.
Hot. Take it off with you. When you gotta get out of the car and take your jacket off?
I do.
Oh my God.
I would rather do it. You driving. Yeah, you always right.
I am.
Honey's always right.
I am. And some people did not go to church today.
You just making me like a scammer. Skipping out on church.
He skipped out today. I might want to go several places, and he ready to go. And yeah, so that's why you don't get no invites.
That's why now we know I got to invite y'all.
To drive and to spend the money.
Yes. I was
Is that what you think?
I was about to watch the Ravens and the Bills. I was just going to chill. The ability to be blessings. To continue to be blessed and to be blessings.
That's
and
good.
keep us out of harm's way. You know, give us strength.
Yep. What else? That's it.
Because she's trying, y'all. I mean, pray for me.
He told me that I would lose a dog.